Namaste. Welcome to the fourth and final part of the four-part series of Chandogya Upanishad. In this final part, we are going to see what has been said about Samanya Satta, the general reality, as explained in the Chandogya Upanishad through the story of Svetaketu Aruneya. Now, in the second chapter of the Chandogya Upanishad, Rishi Uddalaka gives a mandatory insight to his highly scholared son, Svetaketu Aruneya, which are essential for a person who has learnt the Vedas to realize and act accordingly if he were to become a Brahmana. So, in the course of delivering the need for a spiritual guru, which we had seen in part 3 of the 4-part series of Chandogya. So, the need for a spiritual guru to guide a person through the earthly, materialistic and object conscience to a stage of gaining the universal conscience in order to realize the truth about the Atman and the reality that the Supreme Being is in every creation. Rishi Uddalaka gives several analogies and practical demonstrations to explain the various concepts leading to the one destination of imbibing the universal truth. So, continuing the discussion, Svetaketu sought more clarification from Rishi Uddalaka about, that is, his inquisitiveness grew and he started posing more questions. He started asking about the difference between the conscious realization of the universal reality, where one denounces the bodily conscience, and the state of deep sleep or death, where the soul unites with the ultimate reality. This is the one who gets the answer to this question gains his spirituality. So, to this question raised by Svetaketu, Rishi Uddalaka first explained the process of withdrawal that happens to a dying person. So, at the deathbed, what happens to a person is being explained scientifically in this part of the Chandogya Upanishad. In a living human, the senses are the energies that are driven by the mind, which help the body in the discharge of the Parabdha karma. The Parabdha karma is what we usually is associated to the course of action which we do. Once the Parabdha karma is over, it is the time when the mind no longer requires the body. And so, the detachment of the mind and the body takes place, which is called death. When the mind moves away from the body, when your duties on this earth, when your karma on this earth is over, the mind detaches from the body. When a person is alive, his senses are active. But when he is dying, first of all, the senses withdraw from the mind, whereby he can only think but cannot speak or see or use his physical senses. While still life exists in the body, we may see from outside that the person is speechless, he is not able to respond to the distractions around. We feel that he is dead, but at that first stage, his senses get detached from the body. He cannot speak, hear, listen, touch or feel anything. He cannot say anything. But there is still life there at that point of time also. While still life exists in that body, the person may be lying lifeless till the complete withdrawal of the mind from the body into the higher reality. The stages of transition that happens in this phase of dying involves: firstly, the senses are withdrawn into the mind. At the second stage, mind is withdrawn into the prana or the breath. Third step or the third phase, the prana is withdrawn into the fire, which is the heat of the body. And the heat is generated only till the person is alive. And finally, fire or the body heat is withdrawn into the Supreme Being and the human body becomes cold. This is the transition of the soul from the bodily abode to the supreme abode when a person is dead. The similar process takes place in a living person in the process of liberation when the human soul is withdrawn into the supreme soul. The only difference is that at death, the transition takes place automatically at the unconscious state of mind or sleep. Whereas in liberation, the individual consciously detaches his soul from the materialistic bonds to unite it with the Supreme Soul through conscious spiritual exercises. In simple terms, we may tell that this is the difference between a person who dies and detaches all his thoughts and the soul from his body, material body, and unites it with the Supreme Soul. In contrast to the Jiva Samadhi attained by great yogis who through penance, through meditation, while the prana is there, while the body is alive, they take away their jivatma, their soul, their thought, everything, and unite it consciously with the spiritual soul, the Supreme Soul. So this exalted knowledge about the universal truth of existence in the real essence is the real essence of learning the Vedas. And this is what Rishi Uddalaka Aruneya wanted his son Svetaketu Aruneya to understand and realize. It is not just mere going to the Gurukula, sitting there for hours together, meditating, memorizing all the verses of the Vedas will never make a person as a Brahmana. A true Brahmana is one who has this exalted knowledge about the universal truth of existence and who realizes this and assimilates or sees the truth inside every object, material object of this world, and who strives to unite his soul to the Supreme Soul is the one who has understood and realized Vedas. And it's only the person who realizes the essence of the Vedas and imbibes the realization of the ultimate truth becomes a Brahmana. So the one who understands this universal truth, that every living existence of earth, of life on this earth has a soul within a perishable material body, and that the soul unites with the Supreme Being, the Creator, the Brahma, attains the Brahma Jnanam, which is Brahma knowledge, to become a Brahmana. in an interesting narrative form of a father sage Uddalaka Aruneya, who enlightening his learned son Svetaketu Aruneya with simple explanations and analogies. The Chandogya Upanishad delivers the advanced scientific intricacies of the formation of life, activities in a living body like breath and mind. Thirdly, the various levels of transition or withdrawal of the soul from the material body to merge with the cosmic reality that takes place at the stage of death. Fourthly, the knowledge of the ultimate truth that everything that came from the Supreme Being, the Brahma, goes back to the Brahma himself, who is the Supreme Being, and that conclusion that it is not mere learning of the Vedas that make a Brahmana, but it is the realization of the ultimate supreme truth known as the Brahma Gyan that makes the person as a Brahmana, and which can be realized, or this thought can be imbibed through the guidance of a spiritual guru who has himself realized the Supreme Being within his soul, and who is an Acharya who is destined to guide the person to the realization of the Supreme Brahman and become the Brahmana. So with the guidance from his father, when Svetaketu gained the insight about the self and the ultimate truth, he advanced from his state of ignorance. Now one may wonder how he can be ignorant when he was so fluent in Vedas. Only just memorizing the verses, the lines from the Vedas will not make a person knowledgeable. He was still in the state of ignorance despite having learned fluently, been well versed with the Vedic verses. Still he was in the state of ignorance, and he was uplifted to the stage of knowledge which he gained from these analogies and explanations given by his father Rishi Uddalaka Aruneya, that Svetaketu Aruneya became a great Brahmana sage, and he guided many devotees, disciples to also become Brahmanas. So having learnt about what Chandogya Upanishad through the story of Svetaketu Aruneya wanted to deliver, we may put it in a nutshell that in Tamil we say Brahmatai Arindavan Brahmanan. In other words, the person who realizes the creator Brahman, who realizes the cosmos, Brahman. When you realize the cosmos, you go back to the creator. So the one who realizes the creator of the cosmos and every element of this earth is the one who is called the Brahmanan. So may we appreciate the scientific approach to spiritual realization on how to become a Brahmana, as explained in the Chandogya Upanishad through the story of Svetaketu, and may we approach a guru for the true realization of the Brahman and become a Brahmana. Namaste.